Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani and welcome back to this YouTube channel that takes on all kinds of issues related to narcissism and narcissistic relationships. So, how many of you, let's drop this one in the comments because I'm real curious. How many of you, and assuming most of you are people who have gone through narcissistic abuse, though not all of you, how many of you have been called narcissistic? Just drop in the comments like, yeah, me, yeah. Okay, it happens all the time. You're like, maybe I am. So that's what we're going to take on today. And again, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you're not already a part of it, because we're going to answer a really big question. Why is it that people who have been through narcissistic abuse so often wonder if they themselves are narcissistic? And like I said, if that's happened to you, or if you've been said that, somebody said to you, I think you're the one who's narcissistic, drop it in the comments. So now this issue is one that comes up a lot for survivors. A survivor has gone through some form of narcissistic relationship, and they wonder themselves if they themselves are the narcissist. Many, again, you're on this channel, you're watching this video, right? Many survivors go through such a deep dive. They read books, they go online, they watch channels like this and wonder, maybe I was the one who wasn't empathic enough. Maybe I'm being too hard on them. I do like social media. Maybe I need validation. Maybe I'm not doing a good job of seeing their point of view. You've done this, right? You're wondering. It's like, am I the problem, right? And all of this is the brainwashing experience that sadly is the narcissistic relationship. Now, one thing that I'm struck by is the number of people who are in relationships with narcissists, with a narcissistic partner or a family member or other family members, calling the non-narcissistic people out as being the narcissists, right? As Shakespeare once wrote, even the devil can cite scripture for his purpose. Well, so too can anyone take the lexicon of narcissism and apply it as a weapon to somebody else. And that happens quite often. I was recently talking with a colleague of mine who does this kind of work, and she also works with survivors of narcissistic abuse. And she was also observing this pattern. We were both getting asked this a lot, like, maybe I'm the narcissist. And she was observing it in her own clients. They were coming in, and it happens to me, it happens to anyone doing this work. They're coming in and labeling themselves as narcissistic. And what was unfortunate is that the deeper dive revealed them to have already been shattered by a narcissistic relationship. But they were full of empathy and compassion and patience. But these survivors were so gaslighted and so indoctrinated into the narcissistic relationship that they started to believe what the narcissist was telling them. It's like their resistance was so broken down, like, well, maybe they're right. Gaslighting is so insidious in that way. And it starts to expand into a person believing the narrative that the narcissist is selling them, including the narcissist telling them that they're narcissistic. Now, many people in narcissistic relationships obviously start to lose patience over time in these relationships, right? So if you're the one being narcissistically abused, like, I don't like this, and you start to have negative thoughts about your partner, for example. You're like, this isn't cool, like this person isn't cool. Now, remember, narcissistic abuse for many people is a lifelong process, a process that starts in childhood and manifests in all kinds of relationships, the choices of adult intimate relationships, in adult work relationships, and in the ongoing family dynamic. And the cognitive dissonance that happens over a lifetime contributes to lifelong confusion about these relationships. Let's face it, there's no 5-year-old child is out there calling his mother or father out as a narcissist. That 5-year-old child may realize something's probably not right, it doesn't feel good, but it's incredibly destabilizing, if not downright impossible, for a child to believe that their parent is bad. So they start blaming themselves or They accept that what's happening in their family is normal, and they assume that all families are like this. If you take that mindset into adulthood, you can easily see how it sustains in a person's thinking, and a person will continue to blame themselves for a narcissistic adult's bad behavior in their life, a partner or something like that. It's like reverse projection, right? When you might internalize the bad behavior of the other person. The fact is, if you spend enough time with a narcissist, you may very well start wondering if these are your patterns. And it's not the other person, it's you. Again, I'm back on the Nietzsche kick, but Nietzsche said it, if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. And that's when you can sort of feel like, am I getting these qualities as well? We are so culturally indoctrinated in this idea that we're never really supposed to say bad things about our parents or our spouses, especially you're not supposed to say it about the more powerful spouse. You're not supposed to say bad things about family members. Old, tired adages out there like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Well, that's exactly when you should be talking. And then that translates into believing that we are bad people if we even think these negative things about these significant people in our life. Think about it. Whether it's the fourth commandment, whether it's religious teachings from any religion, over and over, what did they say? Honor thy mother and father. They didn't talk about narcissism in the fourth commandment. They're like, blindly honor them. Again, a sentiment that's reproduced in the religious texts of all major world religions. So when a person who is being narcissistically abused, especially if that started in childhood, starts thinking badly about their mom or their dad or their husband or their wife or their partner or their adult child or their boss or their sibling, they may very well start thinking of themselves as a bad person and may even extend that farther and say, oh, I think these terrible things about my mother, maybe I'm a narcissist. I get messages every single day from people who say, maybe I'm the narcissist. And when I do have the opportunity to talk to the person, I ask them, do you have empathy? Real empathy? Not the made-up salesperson, manipulative, mimicky BS empathy. I mean real empathy. Do you value other people? Do you respect them? Even when their opinions are different than you, can you respect their opinions? Or at least hear them? Are you able to regulate your emotions appropriately? Are you aware of your impact on other people? And I guess if a person isn't aware of their impact on other people, they won't be able to answer that. Are you able to do things like wait in line, follow the rules, recognize that the rules apply to you? Are you contemptuous of other people and their needs? I hope not. You need to know you before you start calling yourself a narcissist, and then slowly come out of the haze of self-gaslighting and brainwashing that is a narcissistic relationship. Listen, I have to be open and honest. There are people out there who are in narcissistic relationships who are narcissistic themselves. So you got two narcissists in a relationship. One may be just sort of taking it harder than the other. It is what it is. That's why I'm saying that just because someone's in a narcissistically abusive relationship doesn't mean they can't also be a narcissist. Everyone has to do their own deep dive and be aware of how they function with others. But think about those questions that I asked you. Talk to a mental health practitioner. Be self-reflective. If it turns out that you do have a narcissistic personality pattern and you're committed to changing them, then make the change. It's not impossible. The reason they rarely change is because they don't think anything's wrong. But if you're the one who does, then great, change it. However, if those patterns don't fit you, if you're not narcissistic and it's an accusation being thrown at you by someone who is narcissistic, take a step back and think about it critically. It's exhausting to survive a narcissistic relationship. But holding on to your reality is the most important thing a person can do. Don't waste your time trying to convince a narcissist who is accusing you of being narcissistic that you aren't. Just smile politely when they start calling you narcissistic and start disengaging. Otherwise, you will spend your life in an eternal hell of constantly defending yourself against someone who isn't listening to you in the first place. So I'm guessing for those of you watching, most of you I'm guessing are not narcissistic, some of you may be, but I'm guaranteeing you that any of you have encountered a narcissist, especially in a close, intimate relationship, has been called narcissistic at least once. And for many people who really feel that guilt over, like, I can't believe I'm thinking these terrible thoughts about my partner or my parent, maybe I'm the bad person. That is a very, very normal reaction to that experience. But the trick then is you can work through those negative feelings. But if they're really based on patterns that you're experiencing, it's okay. It's okay to feel those things. It doesn't make you a bad person to just have an honest feeling. And it sure as heck doesn't make you a narcissist. So, you know what? It's like you sort of hold up that mirror and hope it just bounces right back at them. Thanks again for tuning in. Please, as always, subscribe to this channel if you're new, and we look forward to seeing you next time.